Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show, Logically Left. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and it is Monday, June 2nd. Welcome, everybody. It's going to be a great show today. We have insane conspiracy theories abound. Okay. We have Elon Musk, of course, a little bit of a meltdown there. But you know what? I actually am going to kind of push back against it a little bit, a little bit of what they're saying, uh, and so yeah, I know twists and turns here, but hey, that's what you get on the show. We've got companies experiencing a not companies, sorry, law firms that bent the knee to Donald Trump, getting a bit of a FAFO. I love it. Fetterman gets roasted by a hometown paper. And of course, we have a citizen database that is concerning a lot of people and for very good reason. So a lot of important stuff here, fun stuff, like very like scary, privacy issues here, authoritarian. We got everything on the show today. So, you're going to love it. Thank you for tuning in. And before I get into these very important stories, I do want to thank new patron Hunger Games 1989 for signing up over at our Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. And I also want to give a shout out here to Chris T over on our YouTube page for signing up to be a YouTube member. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Y'all help keep independent progressive media functional. Okay, that you're the reason that I can come here and do this and talk about these stories and have these conversations. So really much appreciated. Thank you to not just those two, but to all the members and the patrons, sorry, that have signed up to support independent progressive media, this show. So, all right, just another day in dystopia. Very, very true. But trust me, yeah, it's some scary stuff. All right. But first, let's start out with the dumb new conspiracy theory about Joe Biden. You're going to love this, okay? Oh, boy. Here we go. The President of the United States, Taco Trump, apparently he has never met a conspiracy theory he didn't immediately believe in. Crazy, right? Especially if it involves people that he hates. Okay. So it's no surprise to me that on Saturday night, the dipshit in chief, okay, reposted what is an insane conspiracy theory about the former president. Now, the post in question was made by, shocker, an anonymous True Social user. That's right.
Truth essential.
So much for truth, right? Now, this user suggested that Joe Biden was not only murdered back in 2020. So, wait, huh? What? Who killed him? What are this? What? I don't know what's going on. What is happening here? Apparently, the former president was murdered and nobody knew anything. Oh, you know why? Because he was replaced. That's right. With clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities. That is a quote. Verbatim. That's what the post says. I mean, why couldn't they have gone a little bit further, all right? And we're like, no, not just robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities, but
it is an alien force, not of this world.
Alien force.
It's not human intelligence.
What? Yes. And the post even reads, quote, "There is no hashtag Joe Biden executed in 2020. Now, of course, the president of the United States published a link to that post to his nearly 10 million followers without comment. Because why not, apparently? I mean, sure, he's the most powerful man in the world. Why shouldn't he share unhinged, bizarro conspiracy theories? I mean, isn't that what you're able to do now that you're the most powerful person in the world? What are you going to do? Are you against it? Huh? Well, hey, my button's bigger than yours. Okay? Oh, don't you dare say that. I can do whatever I want. I'm president. Oh, boy. God damn it, Jeff. Why are you being such a dick about this? All right? Because I can. Seriously, though, this is not where we should be as a society right now. Being led by the dumbest, most gullible, most insane people imaginable. But you know what's worse than the president reposting these insane conspiracy theories? At least in my mind, it's the fact that this conspiracy isn't even new. It's not new. They said the same thing about Hillary Clinton in 2016. Oh, yeah, Hillary Clinton's actually dead to body double. Guys, if you're going to go with nonsense in, unhinged, insane conspiracy theories, for the love of God, please be original. Please be original. And not only that, but maybe I'm asking for too much when I ask for them to at least make a little bit of sense. Okay? God, guys, if Joe Biden is a clone robot or whatever, okay, then why did he bomb that debate against Trump so hard that he had to drop out? I mean, any explanation there? Yes, of course you could come up with one. I could come up with, I already have. Oh, you see, back then in 2020, the technology, it's still being perfected, you see, the AI. So obviously the clone robot malfunctioned or something. Or no, the robot malfunctioned, but if he's not a robot and he's actually a clone, then apparently the clone may have been undergoing genetic deterioration. See, I can come up with all these things that would, and you could at least be entertaining with them, right? Insane, of course, but entertaining. That said, obviously, there's really nothing good or entertaining about the White House being essentially run by 4chan, okay? But it's not just that conspiracy theory. Of course not. No, there's always more. In fact, on Friday, the day before, Trump claimed that CBS had deleted his 2015 interview with Stephen Colbert. In fact, he reposted a Facebook video to his, shocker, True Social account, containing heavily edited clips of his September 2015 interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Okay. A message next to that video stated, "You are not supposed to see this video." Well, right there, it instantly, for conservatives, it's a Pavlovian, kind of reaction that they get when somebody says, "You're not supposed to see that. You're not allowed. They don't want you to see it." Instantly, like, "I want to see it. I want to see it. Show it to me. Show it to me." Insane. But it says, "CBS deleted this entire episode from their official website. You will not find these segments on YouTube either." Now, I took that as a challenge. Okay, I took it as a challenge, and I went and I looked it up on YouTube. You know what I found? Whoops, I found that. Yeah, a quick Google search reveals that this conspiracy is obviously false. It's full of crap, and I would play you the video, but I would get hit with copyright, so I don't want to do that. I love that not only is he sharing some of the dumbest conspiracy theories, but the most easily provably false ones. The ones that take 5 seconds to debunk. Okay? And yet, still, the cult believes him. What else can you call these people who buy into this? I mean, they are enthralled to the stupidest cult leader you could ever imagine. Ever. And to the MAGA people, by the way, who don't believe this, I have to ask you then, why do you support someone who lies like this all the time in stuff that doesn't even matter? I mean, what? How can you believe this man when he says anything? If he lies about the most inconsequential, dumb things, what makes you think that he wouldn't lie about the important stuff? You know, like, I don't know, the cuts to Medicaid, cuts to food stamps, Haitians eating dogs and cats. I mean, you got to ask, right? These, and by the way, these are not your garden variety lies or even your thought-provoking conspiracies like the JFK assassination and whether or not the guy who did it acted alone. No, these are stupid. Okay, their conspiracies have somehow gotten more complicated, more sophisticated, yet dumber at the same time. This is quite a feat, okay? And one that I do not believe that we could have seen without social media. Because we live in a time now where the town crank, who used to sit on the bus alone muttering to himself by the window, and nobody wants to sit next to him because he's crazy, now has a megaphone, a Patreon, and a huge following that seems to include the president of the United States. How can anyone believe at this point that we as a country are not cooked? Oof. Nutty stuff. Nutty stuff. Okay. Cooked, I tell you. Cooked. Speaking of cooked, we go now to Chief Twit. Chief Twit Elon Musk is raging after a video resurfaced of him supposedly acting erratically during a dinner at Donald Trump's Bedminster Golf Resort. Let me show you the video here. So look, this video has made the rounds before, okay? And at the time, Motley Plufkins over on X/Twitter, whatever, tweeted the clip out with the caption, "Musk playing with his silverware while tripping on ketamine at Bedminster." All right, again, this clip has gone viral again recently. This is after the New York Times had an explosive new report accusing Elon Musk of using, at his time in office as a special government employee, of using a cocktail of drugs, which included ketamine, Adderall, ecstasy, and even magic mushrooms while at the White House. Now, look, personally, you ask me, I don't care if you do those things. I'm in favor of legalization and regulation. I've been very open about that. But I do ask one thing, that you don't do it on the job because it's kind of important. Now, his job, of course, at the White House was allegedly to make government more efficient, which he did not do. And of course, that was not the point of that. In fact, he really just stole our personal data and is likely giving it to Palantir, that's Peter Thiel's company, killed investigations into his own companies, of course, and made off with massive government contracts worth billions of dollars. Wow, lovely. So now, that said, I am going to push back on the video itself. Let's be very clear. I'm not in favor of Elon Musk. Okay? Not in favor at all. But as far as that, when he didn't really look high, he looked bored. He looked bored. And look, the man is clearly on the spectrum. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not even remotely related to any of the problems that anyone should have with the man. Who cares if he's making little things with his silverware? I don't care. I care much more about what he did to the government and what he might do with our personal data. And then with him being on the spectrum has literally nothing to do with any of that. Now, to back that up, computer scientist and writer Paul Graham chimed in to say, I pretty much do the same thing. Quote, you don't need ketamine to make these. I always make them. In our family, we called them Robert Towers after Robert Morris, who also makes them. Musk responded to that post and said, I'm not on ketamine. FFS. Graham responded saying, well, that's what I'm saying. Making cutlery towers isn't evidence that somebody's on drugs. You could take an identical video of me at dinner. And there it is. Look, what I think is going on is the man is probably just stimming. Okay? That's not evidence of drug use. I despise Elon Musk, but come on, man. There is a way to criticize him without going ableist. Okay? And understand why I'm taking this tech is look, it's kind of the reason, the response to it is kind of the reason that a lot of autistic people end up masking. Okay? Now, that said, it is true that Musk has admitted to taking ketamine. That's right. And that New York Times report is like, yeah, he took so much ketamine that it actually damaged his bladder. Now, he's calling that report, though, a lie, even though he has admitted to, again, doing ketamine. Okay? Here's what he said, quote, is the New York Times the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on Russiagate? Is it the same organization? I think the judge is just ruling against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax and that they might have to give back their Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times? Let's move on. Okay, hold on here. For one, that case involved the Florida State Appeals Court, which had declined to pause a defamation lawsuit that Trump had filed against members of the Pulitzer Prize board. The ruling from the 3-judge panel did not address the merits of the case. In fact, in the argument, the defendants said would basically avoid a constitutional conflict that could arise from Trump proceeding as a plaintiff in a civil action on claims that may involve his official conduct while president in his first term. Now, in Thursday's ruling that denied that request from the defendants, a 3-judge panel on the Florida 4th District Court of Appeals said that the right to claim burdens on executive functions belongs to the president, not his opponents in the case. So, Chief Judge Mark Klingensmith wrote in the ruling, separation of powers protects the executive from undue burdens imposed by other branches, not burdens which the executive willingly accepts. After all, it is Donald Trump that is bringing that lawsuit, that defamation suit, against the Pulitzer board. So yes, they are allowed to bring it on their own timetable, and that's what this appeal, ruling confirms. It's like, yeah, he has the right to bring a defamation case if he wants to. And so, yes, we're going to let it go forward. No, we're not going to wait until he's not president anymore. Okay, all right. Again, that decision had absolutely nothing to do with whether their reporting was factual or not. Okay, so be very, very clear about that. That said, Elon Musk, once again, I already said admitted to doing ketamine. Here's his quotes on that. In a tweet posted August 4th, 2023, Musk responded to Nigerian rapper Zubi, saying this, quote, I have serious concerns about SSRIs as they tend to zombify people. Occasional use of ketamine is a much better option, in my opinion. I have a prescription for when my brain chemistry sometimes goes super negative. Now, let me just say, first off, I know people who take SSRIs. No, I've never seen anybody zombified by it. Okay? So, again, a lot of times, they do help. And obviously, everybody's different, and different medications affect everybody differently. So let's be fair about that. Now, Musk also told journalist Don Lemon that he takes a small amount of ketamine in order to treat his depression. So he says, there are times when I have sort of negative chemical state in my brain. Ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind. Okay. So look, here's the thing. What does the science say about use of ketamine on depression? Well, it turns out, so far, the scientific community says, well, it's showing promise for the treatment of resistant severe depression. Okay, so promising on that front. Great. Now, that same report, of course, says, this is from Harvard, there are possible downsides, so more research into the long-term usage of ketamine is necessary. Now, one of the reasons that they pointed that out, the concerns is with repeated dosing, which they said that it can begin to lose its effectiveness and may require larger doses to get the same effect, which of course could be a problem. Okay. Could be a problem because, again, if you take so much of it, it could literally damage your bladder. So, yeah, that's a concern. And again, the report noted that this guy is taking a lot and mixing it with other stuff. Not recommended. Not recommended at all. But of course, it's only a concern unless you happen to be the richest man on earth that owns his own social media company. And so apparently, if you don't like something, all you have to do is just label it as fake news and then bury it. So there you go. All right. Let's do some FAFO here. Some of the law firms in this country that caved to President Donald Trump are now facing the fallout for doing so. At least 11 major companies have decided to shift legal work away from firms that struck deals with the Trump regime, instead turning towards those firms that actually stood their ground against Trump, according to a report in the Wall Street Journal that was published on Sunday. Why is that? Well, it's not because a lot of these corporations are like super woke or anything. It's because of the nature of their work. See, general counsels at various companies told the Wall Street Journal that, hey, look, our decision was pretty simple, okay? If you're a firm that surrendered to this administration without a fight, then how can we count on you to represent us and fight for us in court or at the negotiating table if you can't even stand up for yourselves? I mean, seriously, if you just cave at the administration for launching executive orders at you, then what good are you? What kind of law firm are you? There's no fighting. You're just we hire you, and then you're just going to surrender to the opposition if it gets hard. No, thank you. No. Not only is this a gigantic FAFO, but again, it really does make sense. If you don't fight, if you comply and advance, you show that you are weak, which is not what you want in a law firm. You want a fighter. You want a fighter. So now what companies are involved here? Well, you have Oracle, Morgan Stanley, Microsoft, and McDonald's. So those are reportedly among the bigger ones to distance themselves away from these other legal firms, either by scaling back their work or voicing concerns or even just parting ways. You're gone. You're fired. Now, in one of the cases, the Journal reported a firm that cut a deal with the Trump administration reportedly stopped representing McDonald's in a high-profile lawsuit months before trial. In another, Microsoft put concerns in writing to one of its go-to firms. So there you go. And a top executive at one company told the Journal that her employer plans to transition work away from a specific law firm, Paul Weiss, which lost 4 of its partners after entering into a deal with the White House, which had threatened this firm with access restrictions, canceled government contracts, and even revoked security clearances. So they had threatened all of that. Paul Weiss said, yes, sir. Okay, sir. Sorry, sir. And even had pledged to do millions of dollars worth of pro bono work for the Trump administration on behalf of their policies. Wow. And that work, again, tens of millions of dollars for just one firm. For all of the firms that were targeted that had actually gone along with the Trump administration, it's worth about $1 billion of work. Damn. Now, the firms that made deals with this administration include Kirkland & Ellis, Skadden, Simpson Thacher, A&O Shearman, and Latham and Watkins. So there you go. In fact, a general counsel at a separate company told the newspaper that she had, quote, felt physically ill at the time when Paul Weiss struck that agreement. Not good. Not good. Now, there's another firm, by the way, that made a deal, and that is Wilkie, Farr, and Gallagher. Now, I point that out because that is one of the firms that actually employs Doug Emhoff, that is former Vice President Kamala Harris's husband. Emhoff had joined the firm back in January, and according to the New York Times, unsuccessfully advised his leadership to fight back. So Doug Emhoff's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Fight back. And, they didn't. And now they're losing business as a result. Hey, guys, you should have listened to Doug. That said, I got to ask, is Doug still at that firm? And if he is, why? Why? It's not like there are not other places that you can work at. And obviously, there are ones that are fighting back, and they have been doing so very successfully, I might add. In fact, multiple federal judges have actually struck down a lot of Trump's executive orders that have targeted these firms and saying that this is basically you overreaching executive power. And 2 of the big ones here that just recently won are Jenner and Block and Wilmer Hale, who had filed separate lawsuits accusing the administration of violating their First Amendment rights, free speech rights, right? After they were stripped of their security clearances. On May 23rd, a federal judge overturned Trump's order against Jenner and Block, who, by the way, was targeted because they had employed Andrew Weissmann, who had worked on the Mueller investigation. 4 days later, another judge struck down the order against Wilmer Hale, which again had been targeted because they previously employed FBI Director Robert Mueller of the Mueller investigation. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the lawfare, right? You want to talk about weaponization of the government against their political enemies? There it is. I mean, that's an example of it. Going after these law firms for actually having employed Trump's enemies. It's very clear. Okay? And by the way, this is why these law firms are actually winning now. Amazing. Amazing what happens when you actually fight, as opposed to surrendering to the fascists and complying ahead of time. I know, right? But once again, this just proves that if you go fash, you lose cash. There you go. I prefer the law firm of Hagen and Dawes. True. Oh, there you go. Yeah, he would probably shut down that McDonald's for employing Kamala Harris. That's right. Mark Elias and Glenn Kirshner have talked with Brian Tyler Cohen about his blatant disregard to adhere to democracy. Yeah, they don't care at all about democracy, and yeah, it's very, 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 very clear on that. Okay, so let me because that kind of dovetails into the story here that I'm saving for last, and that is the citizen database. Yeah, but let's not get to that yet because I want to get to Fetterman. Oh boy. Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania recently got just absolutely roasted by his hometown newspaper. The Philadelphia Inquirer and their editorial board wrote a scathing editorial against the man that they had once actually endorsed. So, telling him that it is time for him to either, quote, serve Pennsylvanians or step away. Damn. They're serious. Now, in the column that was published on Sunday, they basically accuse a guy of checking out. Like, he's just not there. Okay? And that is during a time that is very crucial right now where all the Democrats need to be on board to fight against the Trump regime. Okay? That's one of the biggest complaints against the Democratic Party right now is, where are you? You are not fighting against this regime. What are you doing? Why? Like, yes, Chuck Schumer, incredibly weak and feckless leader, but at least the guy's writing strongly worded letters. I mean, it's not much, but goddamn, it's more than what John Fetterman's doing, which is nothing. He's not even showing up. He's not there. Here's what the Inquirer's editorial board wrote about Fetterman. Quote, he has missed more votes than nearly every other senator in the past 2 years. He regularly skips committee hearings, cancels meetings, avoids the daily caucus lunches with colleagues, and rarely goes on the Senate floor. I don't give a damn about the lunches, honestly. Like, even if I was in Congress, you think I'd want to have lunch with my colleagues? No, I'd want to have lunch by myself somewhere else. Okay, so I'm okay with that. But everything else, the rest of that stuff seems, I don't know, kind of important. Like, you might want to be there for that. Okay, yes, even going on the floor and like defending a bill or going up against a bill. I know a lot of that stuff is performative, right? But at the same time, it's how people know you're actually there. Okay? And right now, the Democratic Party is like, I should say Democratic voters are like, at least you could do something. Come on, show us that you have a pulse. And I know some of the Democratic Party members lately haven't. Okay? And that's another one of the problems here with the gerontocracy. But that said, all right, what else does Fetterman have to do? Really? What else you got going on, buddy? Oh, right. Your trips to Israel, of course. But I'll come back to that later. Okay? Now, here's what the board wrote. Quote, to be sure, mental health is a serious issue and not something to ignore. If Fetterman is still struggling, then he should seek immediate help. I agree with that. Instead, Fetterman has complained that people have weaponized his mental health battles against him. Being an elected official comes with public scrutiny. If Fetterman can't handle the attention or perform his job, then in the best interest of the country and the nearly 13 million residents of Pennsylvania he represents, he should step aside. Ooh. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. Totally. And here's the other thing, right? He had a stroke, which I guess it apparently changed his personality, or perhaps it had revealed it, what it really is. I'm not sure which, honestly, but apparently there were black residents who had lived in Braddock when Fetterman was mayor, and was like, yeah, no, this is who Fetterman really is. This is who he's always been. He was always trash. Okay. So, look, when it comes to the hearings, though, okay, Fetterman had told the New York Times last month that he found the Senate hearings to be boring and performative, okay, and would only go because he felt shamed into doing so, and said, I would go visit my dad instead of a throwaway vote. But that is literally your job, man, to show up. That's the whole point, okay? Imagine somebody working at the grocery store, okay, and saying, you know what, today I am just going to skip work and still get paid for it, by the way, because you know what, my job is boring and performative anyway, so why even show up? Well, I mean, that's your job. I mean, would you have a job after that? No, you wouldn't. And look, Congress only works half the year anyway. Okay, seriously. They have more time off than anybody. And somehow, Fetterman just, can't even be bothered to show up? No, come on. Seriously? Seriously. In fact, the Inquirer also mentioned that, saying, quote, spending time with family is laudable, but if that is his priority, then Fetterman should get a job closer to one of the 8 properties he owns in his hometown of Braddock, Pennsylvania. Many of Fetterman's constituents would like to work half a year so they too could spend time with their families. Safe to say, many would do it for less than Fetterman's salary of $174,000, which is more than double the nation's median household income. Absolutely true. Also, I'm so glad to see them saying it. That's nice. Wow. And then I love that, but they also hit him for his travel, which I think is also fantastic. They point out that Fetterman has flown to Israel twice in the past year, including a recent all-expense-paid junket to meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been accused of war crimes and corruption. Oh, yes. He and his wife flew first class and stayed in 5-star hotels as part of a fact-finding mission. Oh, gee. Really? They're finding facts, huh? That cost $36,000 and was paid for by a New York-based nonprofit. And you wonder why this guy capes for Israel so hard. They have been giving him free trips and star treatment. It's absolutely grotesque. And let me tell you what, I am super ashamed that I had once supported him. And I obviously I'm not the only one, right? Because, again, the board for the Inquirer had also supported him in 2022 and endorsed him over Dr. Oz. And again, yes, as much as I am ashamed for having supported him back then, I don't feel bad for defending him against the weirdos who attacked him for having a stroke, right? And dealing with mental illness as a result. I don't feel bad for that, all right? But on the other stuff, I feel like I should have seen through him, okay? And him being a fake progressive. Perhaps this was me being so intent on trying to beat Dr. Oz that I didn't see the red flags littered all over the place. And that's my fault. And I take ownership of that. I need to be more careful. Perhaps I need to vet people better before I go to bat. There's always room for improvement, obviously. He is a fake progressive, and I should have seen that. Lord knows we've had enough of those, all right? And obviously an embarrassment who seems to delight in the wholesale slaughter of Palestinian children. So, look, I doubt he's going to leave, though, of his own volition, which means that the voters of Pennsylvania, when they get a chance, hopefully they vote this guy out. Maybe then he can, go to Israel or something, or join AIPAC or whatever he wants to do. As long as he's not in Congress, well, when he's actually in Congress. But he won't be in that position of power and influence anymore. And I think that would be a good thing. That's right. Linda Decker says, not doing his job, why should he be paid? And either do your job or go away. 100%, 100%. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, and now Mehmet Oz is the administrator of the Centers for of Medicare and Medicaid Services, which, you know, like, it almost probably would have been better had Dr. Oz won, honestly, now that I think about it. But again, it's one of those things where hindsight's 2020, right? RB asks, is Fetterman considered a Zionist? Yeah, I would say so. I would absolutely say so. Okay. Let's move on. The New York Times, in a bombshell article, recently reported that the Trump administration is working on a database, working on developing a database of American citizens and our private information, headed up by the Peter Thiel co-founded company Palantir. Friday, the Times reported the White House had contracted Colorado-based analytics and technology firm Palantir for assistance in compiling a database of personal information on American citizens. Citing unnamed government officials and Palantir employees, the newspaper said the company had been in talks with various government agencies regarding the project, including the SSA and the Department of Education. What? What? But okay, what information is going to be in this database? Apparently everything. As much as they can get on us. According to Jason Bassler, co-founder of the government accountability-focused outlet, the Free Thought Project, said that this will combine tax filings, student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, medical claims, and immigration status. He added that this has not been seen before. Quote, no previous database system has ever centralized this much personal info across various federal agencies. So now you might think, but the government's already got all our info. Yeah. But generally, at least before this administration, the various agencies that had our data were not sharing it with each other. It was all kept separately. They didn't share it between departments, but Trump recently put out an executive order that got rid of that. That said, no, we're going to do more information sharing so that, guess what? We can compile all the information that we know about a person into just one easily accessible file that we can do whatever the hell we want with. Oh, lovely. Now, when approached by Newsweek for comment on this report, White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers said this, quote, President Trump signed an executive order to eliminate information silos and streamline, that's what they're calling it, data collection across all agencies to increase government efficiency and save hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Yes, we're going to increase efficiency all over you. That's right. Yeah. Take all your data, okay? And it's going to make it more efficient when we want to come after you. Oh, great. Again, why would the government need a database that contains our banking information? I mean, we already know why they would want immigration status, this Trump administration. And why would the Transportation Bureau, for example, or the SSA, why would they need access to our student debt information? That doesn't make any sense. Siloing it actually does make sense because again, sends the information that is needed to the relevant agencies. Like, for example, yes, the Department of Education should know about my student debt. Obviously, that makes sense. Okay? But having these other agencies be able to track that and have that information on hand, what does that do? That doesn't make anything more efficient. But it sure would make it easier for the government to weaponize that information against us if they wanted to, which is exactly what they want to do. Okay? That's what Palantir is about. What this looks like is a precursor to mass surveillance. And then once they have all that stuff, all that information, they can look towards dissidents, people maybe who are doing negative YouTube videos about them, and say, well, we've got this information here. You might not want to let that get out. So if you don't want that out, maybe you ought to stop doing what you're doing and perhaps maybe start doing the opposite. Saying nice things about Trump for once. Yes, it's going to be used against political opponents. That's the point. And again, it already is. In fact, the New York Times reported that the company's software is being employed within the DHS, as well as Health and Human Services and others. Both Wired and CNN reported previously that Palantir had been enlisted by the Department of Government Efficiency as well to help craft a database of undocumented immigrants to expedite deportation. Yeah. And again, not only that, but federal workers, some of them, have already been told that Doge is using AI. Oh, here we go with the AI to sift through their communications to identify people who may harbor anti-Musk or anti-Trump sentiment and to presumably punish or fire them. So that's what they're doing. Okay. And the Times also found that the company is now speaking with various other agencies, including IRS, SSA, with a focus on something called the Foundry product, which is a comprehensive data integration and analytics platform. Yikes. Naturally, of course, this has a lot of people concerned. And by concerned, I mean hair on fire. Okay? Not good. Some ex-users compared this plan to the Chinese social credit system, with one writing, this database will be weaponized against us all once the social credit system is in place, and you can and will become a target if you dare to dissent, just like how China runs their society. Another said, Trump just hired Palantir to create a master database to surveil and harass the American people. This is as dystopian as it gets, and it must be rejected by all. You even have, making another appearance, computer scientist and entrepreneur Paul Graham, who wrote that the company was building the infrastructure of the police state and helping the U.S. government violate citizens' constitutional rights. Yes, Cody Vensky, a senior policy counsel at the ACLU, told Wired back in April, the ultimate concern is a panopticon of a single federal database with everything that the government knows about every single person in this country. What we're seeing is likely the first step in creating that centralized dossier on everyone in the country. Where's the right wing here? Okay, where are they? Where are the people that didn't want a database for gun owners, for example, of gun owners, I should say? Where's all those guys? Where are the pro-privacy people on the right? Where are they? They're cheering it on because they think, oh, finally, it's not going to be us. No, it's going to come after our political enemies. You see? See that now I'm not worried about it because it's not going to be used against me, except it will be. It's going to be used against everyone. That's the point. Not good at all. Now, and not only, by the way, does this present massive privacy problems, okay? But once again, the work of Doge made way for Palantir to take over, all right? Many government, and not just Palantir, but other companies to take over vital government functions by hollowing it out the government and then replacing it with these firms, as well as, of course, using AI. Yikes. As Wired recently reported, Doge is using AI to prompt its way towards a hollowed out US government with essential functions almost inevitably assumed by connected Silicon Valley contractors like, Peter Thiel. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And by the way, for these companies, it means both money and control. Digital totalitarianism, okay, that aims to ensure that everyone stays on their best behavior while these massive companies, as well as Donald Trump and his government goons, it's to ensure that every person stays on their best behavior while these people dismantle our democracy and get rid of our fundamental rights. Okay? And why do I say that? It's not like Peter Thiel hasn't already said things like, I believe democracy and capitalism are not compatible. All the way back in 2009, he's expressed hatred for our system of government. Hatred specifically for democracy, average people being able to have a say in our government. So now here's the thing, though. I think he actually is kind of right about capitalism and democracy being a bit incompatible. Okay. But instead of arguing against capitalism, he wants to destroy democracy to usher in something called essentially techno-feudalism. All right. And creating a database like this, I think, is the authoritarian first step into getting rid of democracy. Now, you get all people's, all of their information and their secrets and all that stuff they don't want to get, getting out. You can use that to keep people into compliance. So that is the tool in which they are going to use to eliminate freedom. So if you are not concerned by any of this, then perhaps you might want to think again before it's too late. Yikes. I know I hate to leave you off on such a dour note there, but yeah. Yikes. All right. Jedi Protector, by the way, says power corrupts absolutely, but can't look inward. Yeah. Well. True. Let's see. Yeah, a Warhammer 40K, Cyberpunk, Fallout, BioShock, but it's all stupider. Yeah, that's pretty much it, too. All these horrible dystopian futures, and we get stuck with the dumbest one. That's just our luck, isn't it? Techno-feudalism, yeah. That's a real thing, unfortunately. All right, so yeah. Let me see here. So that's all the comments here. It's all the stories that I have for you all today. Thank you for watching the show. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Consider becoming a patron or a channel member by hitting the join button below. All of that stuff, again, goes to help the show continue and continue to, fight and oppose, resist against the Trump regime, essentially. And then hopefully at some point we can start to advocate for, I don't know, progressive values, Medicare for all, those things seem so far away now. And it really is a tragedy because this is stuff that we need, stuff that is necessary. Healthcare for everyone, housing for everyone, getting rid of racism and policing, all that stuff. We could actually, I remember actually looking forward to a good future. Instead, we get pretty much one of the worst ones. And that's not even addressing the fact that climate change, we're pretty much I mean, figuratively cooked, but then probably going to be literally cooked here in not too long. So this is ridiculous. Yes, Caleb Guillory, thank you. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but you do point out the Dark Enlightenment. That is exactly the Peter Thiel plan. If you haven't already looked that up, it is incredibly scary. It is scary as fuck. So, yeah. What these tech fascists are doing, I mean, yeah, not good at all. Especially if you care about, freedom and people's rights and privacy and all that wonderful stuff. But anyway, thank you all. Love you all. And try to stay safe in your communities, your families, friends. Be there for each other, mutual aid, all that stuff. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, all. We'll see you tomorrow.